right, guys, here to talk about the movie Romeo and Juliet.
Romeo plus Juliet.
Romeo plus
Oh my
Juliet.
God.
So I had not seen this movie in its entirety before this run-through.
You must have a very different opinion of it than I do then.
So you'd seen it before already?
I think we watched this in school.
Oh, yeah?
Like, while doing Romeo and Juliet.
I watched many versions of Romeo and Juliet
Okay.
in different classes in school.
Yeah.
Never this version. I'd only ever seen what turned out to be like the opening scene where that at the gas station.
Yes.
And like that's the best scene in the movie.
Yes, it is.
And that's the only scene that I'd ever seen before. That scene, seeing it, is what made me buy the movie.
Okay.
And had been sitting on it until we watched it right now.
That's awesome. So I liked it at the time. I saw it when I was a kid.
Uh-huh.
So going into it, I remember like a ton of this movie.
Okay.
But mostly, and I've expressed this before, like I love remixes and reimaginings and mashups and doing things like that.
Yeah.
I'm a huge sucker for like, oh, it's a retelling of The Wizard of Oz, only it's about a hooker in like L.A. or like oh, I'm 100% on board. Like I love everything about that. I think so. I don't know
I
if
need
it
to
is.
know that then.
No, there's one for Little Red Riding Hood like that. There's like, anything. Take like an old thing, mash it up, put it in like a new place, right? Whatever. Three Little Pigs, only it's in space. I don't know how that would work.
I thought a lot of this was done very
Yes.
well, though, for what it was. That
Sweet.
mashup was a good version for me.
So I thought you were going to be like, I hate this or whatever. Because I think I love this movie.
I really like every part of it that's not Leonardo DiCaprio's part.
Ooh.
I think
throwing shade on Leo.
I like Leo in a lot of things. This is not one of them.
Sure.
I thought he was miscast. I think that it was because he was very popular at the time. He got this role, but I don't think that he was the best in this thing. I think stealing the show, John Leguizamo.
We love John Leguizamo.
John Leguizamo was fucking wonderful, and whoever played his like the taller like cousin, that guy I thought was really good.
He has no lines, but he's great.
He had a couple of lines here and there,
like
like
1 or 2 lines.
And his delivery I thought was really good. Like I loved his like surfer bro like spin on it.
No,
and I just thought that Leo didn't seem to like lean into it hard enough.
I think Leo's strongest points were some of the chemistry with Claire Danes parts.
Sure.
And then a lot of the other stuff, he's very squeaky voiced and like over the top and stuff.
Just didn't nail it for me.
I would agree with that. That's
Everybody
fine.
else though really seemed to hit it. And that's what made him seem so much worse.
There are people who are taking it so seriously. It's so amazing. Okay, so in case you haven't seen this, which you should not be watching what we're talking about right now, not that you can spoil Romeo and Juliet really, but like they keep all of the Shakespearean dialogue, but they put it into like a modern. It's not even modern. It's like surreal. Like this takes place nowhere. It's like not a real place. It's like crazy, and I love that. The guy that made this, Baz Luhrmann, is the Moulin Rouge guy.
Okay.
So I think he liked John Leguizamo, and he's like, I gotta put you, in like my other movie or something like that. So that's like the kind of mindset behind this. Is like we're just gonna, hey, we have a lot to cram in here. We only have 2 hours. Well, she has to walk out of the room and then say something. Just speed it up. Just fast forward until she gets to like the door, and then have her talk, and then speed it up again and have her like move. Like everything's crazy and like surreal and out there, and I love it.
It's very well done though. Like you can tell this movie feels like it's just dripping money. Where like there's like a lot of attention to detail. There's a lot of cool sets in this movie, and like a lot of fucking actors that are like like oh, I know that guy from this, I know that guy from this, and oh this that guy from Oz, and like there's real people are in this movie. And that's cool. Like Jamie Kennedy's in it briefly. His "I bite my thumb at thee" is fucking wonderful. The youngest kid from Hackers is in it briefly. Yeah. Who else is in this movie? Just like a ton of, you're like, oh, that person and this person, like very, very cool.
Yeah, there's people that it's not even people where like, oh, it's like Jerry, whoever. It's like, but you see their face and you know them, like the parents and all the different people. Like
sure.
A lot of people have where it's like, oh, he's been a mobster in like 100 things, and now he's this or now he's that.
Yeah.
And, like it was good from that side. Oh my God, I love this movie.
So you've seen this one and I haven't. So like it had less of an impact on you.
What is it like to watch this like out of nowhere like that? Like did you know before? Oh, this is gonna have all the original
I knew
dialogue?
it used all the original dialogue because I'd seen that gas station fight scene.
Yeah.
So I saw that and I was like, dude, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And like seeing the people in it that like I really liked, I was like, oh man, this is gonna be great. And I bought it like right after I saw that scene. But again, I just hadn't watched it, so like I knew what I was getting into. But because I'd only seen that gas station scene, I had not seen any Leo. And so the thing that I really liked about it ended up I'm like, well, I don't really like any of the scenes he's in because he seems really dumb it down for me.
I probably wouldn't have said that on my own, but hearing you say it, I definitely agree. There were parts where I was like, everyone loves Leonardo DiCaprio. That was my reaction is I'm supposed to like Leonardo DiCaprio.
I don't think that he's bad.
He's good in some parts.
I think that everybody else shines so bright that it makes him this dull star, and I think somebody else might have been able to shine on par with everyone else in this movie, it might have been better.
For your Romeo part, right?
For Romeo, yes.
Now, because he's the main, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He has to do the most stuff, or whatever. No, so
I think the cousin
the intro
could have filled that spot for me. I think a little better. I think he had that bigger oh, this and that, blah blah blah. He brought this sort of bravado to the part that I think Romeo being this meek little guy, I think kind of lost some of that. And I guess he's not a fighter. He is the lover, so he doesn't have to be this big guy. But you kind of want a Gaston, kind of Romeo.
People say this about I forget her name, so I just won't mention it. But people say this about some people sometimes. Actors or actresses who get famous when they're a little younger. They keep doing it, and it's this movie had a bunch of actors and actresses in it, and then Leonardo DiCaprio playing dress up, trying to be on the same page as everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was 10 years younger than John Leguizamo here or not. But kind of felt like it, right? He feels more
I've heard that exact statement about
Jennifer Lawrence.
I was just gonna say J-Law, yeah.
And I don't even think that necessarily. But I've seen some trailers where
I do think you see a couple movies where she looks far too young to be the parts of who she's playing, but she got that part because of her name and her this and that.
So famous,
and not that she's under talented. It's not always about how good of an actor you are. Sometimes it's just well, do you fit this part?
You can't act. You can.
I can't act like an older Spanish guy if I wanted to play a cool bullfighter. That's not the part I would go for.
Right, and you could do some amazing things, but
at the end of the day, there is somebody who's already fitting that role who's a good actor. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And I don't know that Leo would have been my choice.
That's an interesting
I think
point.
that he might have had a thing with the studio where we have to do 3 pictures with Leo, and Leo's blah blah. We got him already. We already have him for Titanic with this. And
it ends up being iconic for him with them looking through the fish tank and all that stuff. You see that out there. And
I don't think he's ever bad or unwatchable.
It didn't ruin the movie, but I totally agree with you that someone else there might have made this, because that's the thing. It isn't like they moved on and did Hamlet and then they did Macbeth and they just kept rolling with it, right? There's not someone has probably done them all, but I don't know of any on this scale where they kept all the original dialogue and they did so much style on top of it and they made it its own thing. So this was your one chance, and you could have made something perfect or whatever. That's an interesting hot take.
The best Hamlet is obviously the Arnold Schwarzenegger Hamlet.
To be or not to be? Not to be.
That's in the little clips from Last Action Hero.
I was going to say, what?
To be or not to be.
Not to be.
Not to be.
I remember that. I've thought of that a lot.
That's fantastic.
That's where that's from. Perfect.
That's where that's from.
But okay, so the intro is a Guy Ritchie film. It's so overcranked and so frenetic and so crazy, right? It's got the woman hitting the guy with the purse, and then he pulls the gun, and all that stuff. It's it's funny.
Only part that ruins
so
that
snappy.
for me is how many times he shoots that stupid sign. It's ping, 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 ping,
it's weird.
It just keeps cutting that same shot, and I'm like, is this a mistake?
Right.
Did you not get other shots? What's happening here? It's the only bad part of that scene, and that scene is wonderful.
Parts of it are played almost funny, though. It's played this whole weird, outlandish thing. I love how, the car drives away, and then John Leguizamo's standing there, and it, reveals, and he's like, what? And just screaming.
When John, goes, wah, and, throws off his shirt, and he has a vest on, and spins, and, adds the scope, and then shoots that guy in the arm. Yep. I was like, awesome. The scene that I saw ended right as he drops the match. So in my head, I'm like, he burns that dude to death.
That dude on fire. Yeah.
And I was like, was that on purpose, or was that And I was watching with a friend, and I was like, do you think he even knew that gas was on the ground? Was that on purpose? Blah blah blah.
Gas was all over that dude.
And they were 100%. They're like, oh yes, it was 100% on purpose. And I'm like, And then when you watch the actual movie, I'm like, oh, he got away. I'm like, I don't know if that was on purpose.
Okay. Yeah.
You do think he killed the shaved head guy, but that guy just got shot in the arm.
Yes. It ends up being like just like a skirmish and all that stuff. But it's such a great way to kind of indicate like what you're in for.
Yes.
Like I love when movies do that. Where
almost in a wrong way though, because it's so strong,
and so much
and the rest doesn't have anything like that.
Yeah, but if you were like, well, it's Shakespeare, I don't know what they're gonna do with it, and it's like, well, they're gonna just be crazy. They're just gonna do all this sorts of stuff.
So I don't know if you even need to say spoilers for Romeo and Juliet thing, but to jump to the end here.
We don't have to go through the plot of
Romeo
and Juliet.
I've seen other Romeo and Juliet movies. I've read, obviously you read that in school, and I don't think I ever took it the same way that this movie ends.
Great.
And like, let me know if you had the same thoughts here.
Possibly.
So like she's dead. She had taken the sleeping pills that give you like no heartbeat and like cold and whatnot. And like he goes up there, sees that she's dead, and he takes the poison. And like she brushes his face like a moment after he takes the poison. And like he gets to realize what he's done. And in every one that how I've taken it was that like. He goes to the grave, he takes the poison, he dies, she wakes up, oh, happy dagger, and like stabs herself and then dies. I don't think I've ever seen them coexist alive at the same moment, and that's so powerful.
It's so much better.
It's so much better.
I know.
That is a way better ending.
I had that exact same thought. Strangely oddly enough, it reminded me of in like Lady Hawk when like Rutger Hauer and like his girl can see each other for like a split second as they're both changing at sunrise and sunset. No, it was great because like that's the whole thing. In everything that I can think of, because we've seen like live productions of it back in school, right? They take on a field trip or some crap. It's always the one that like the actor says his shit and then he passes out and then she wakes up and goes like, "What's this? Oh, I'm dead too now."
But
that's it, right?
Like
it was amazing.
Way better.
I love this so much.
And if that was, I don't know if I've just seen all the interpretations that are bad, or if it's just they don't have the acting chops to pull off the way they did it in this. But the way they did this and Leo's face and her face and like that shit, I'm like, oh my god.
I was just gonna say her face. She grabs the vial and like talks about it and all that stuff. I know.
And I didn't notice. Did it say anything on her on the gun that she used to kill herself?
I don't know.
Because other ones say like sword, like blah blah, and I wanted hers to say happy dagger. But I didn't notice.
Yeah.
And we don't rewind, so it's dead to us.
We have a thing about I totally agree with that. I had the exact same thought, and I feel like it makes it so much stronger and all that stuff. They even hyped it up, like in like the play or in like whatever, when you hear it or see it or something like that, you understand that like, it's a communication problem. Romeo doesn't know about the plan and they're trying to tell him but they can't or whatever. Here, like there's police cars fishtailing and doing things and there's gunshots and helicopters and he takes a hostage. Like it is clearly like and he drives away right as like the UPS FedEx guys showing up again. Like they make it so much more real and so much higher up than just like, oh, he had set out before the messenger got there. Like it's just this bland nothing. But they turned it into this huge thing, and I was like, oh. Like
the only thing I think, if I was going to change this modern telling a little bit, and like, I guess you can't really change it because it's fucking going off of a very old script here.
Well, you can change certain things.
I think having the young kid from Hackers go to him and tell him that Juliet was dead, I think was the wrong way to play. I think because they used a lot of things with like news broadcasts very well. I think hearing that this very famous woman died would be on the news.
Would be great.
And I think hearing it on the news might be better and not have because like you'd think that young kid who was an altar boy or whatever would have said to the priest, "I'm gonna go tell Romeo" or something, and he would have been like, "Bring this note" or like something. Like it just seemed like that was the one issue with like how things played out in this telling.
I liked some of that because it was playing up like the tragedy of the communication problem.
Yes.
Like Pete Thosselthwaite, whatever his name is. I looked it up because this guy is a character actor that I've seen.
Who is that?
Father Whoever.
Oh, yeah, he's in a lot of things.
The guy that plays the priest in a million things.
I love that shirt he wears and the tattoo on his back.
Yes, so much again.
A lot of attention to detail. Like
there's
really,
so much style.
Really
in this.
put a lot of.
But that guy's face, looking at the hacker's kid, and then the hacker like their look, and he's kind of looking like this whole thing, like sold me on this whole the tragedy of like the thing, and then he's like calling like they use the Shakespearean dialogue as like a phone call, like the way that they use the different presentation of the reality in something. I'll just talk about that
the
now.
The news
instead of
presenter things were good.
Instead of like
and they played.
Instead of a narrator, you have like the news, and you have like the head of police dude or like whatever. But like saying some stuff and then grabbing the bullhorn to say the other part of it, right?
Yes.
Or like Mercutio, like yelling part of it and then talking softly to someone else, like using the Shakespearean dialogue but framing it up totally differently. Now we're in a car and he stops the car and says it to like the guy, and then that's not in the original Shakespeare. They're like reusing the dialogue and like repurposing it.
I think
like,
they
the scenes.
Undersold Mercutio's stab.
I know.
I think they really should have got him a little better,
it didn't
or
look
like wrote maybe a little higher.
Deathly enough.
He got nicked. It looked like in like the love handle, and I think that would have been something you'd survive.
I had the same thought.
Yeah. But other like if my only complaints are like I think you should have used a little bit more newscaster instead of that, and maybe a little bigger cut, like that's not very much in the way of complaints.
No, and like I remember liking this, and I always remember wondering why this didn't spark a whole thing of this. I
think it's not very approachable, and they tried their hardest,
yes.
and like if you can't make it work with this cast and like this production,
I think it worked though. What do you mean?
But I mean, if you can't spark this to be a thing that you're doing, like it's not going to happen.
I wonder why it didn't spark something though at the time.
I don't know, but what I mean is you can't say they didn't give it their best effort to make this a new thing.
Oh no, not on them. I mean like on the world. Like in my head, this is like the first one, and then they kept, like even if they sucked, I'm shocked no one then made 3 more.
I almost think it's because people are so dumb, and this would almost be tricking them, because you would say, Leonardo DiCaprio, and people expect a certain thing when you see Leo, and then they'd be like, what is this? What is he saying?
No, I did not look into how well this was received or like whatever, but this to me, like I remember, my teacher in like early high school, late middle school, whenever this was, being like super excited about like, okay, we can finally make this material more accessible or something like that. And he was way into it and like showed the class. And I remember being like, I feel like a nerd, but I kind of, because I don't like theater or drama or plays or anything. I don't like any of that stuff. But I was like, I really like this movie. I think something's wrong with me. And like, like at the time.
No, I enjoyed this movie. I would give it a thumbs up as people should watch it.
Yeah.
But I think it would score low though for me. Oh yeah. Because I
like it so much. I think.
Well, what number would you be giving this?
Oh.
Obviously a thumbs up.
My like initial gut was like 8 out of 10 or something like that. I'm so impressed with so many of those like little details. There's a part, all right, where like Mercutio's leading Leo out. Or like whatever, and there's like a coat check for their like swords, but he's like grabbing the guns, and he has to go grab Romeo, but he's behind the little gate, and the gate is just a stupid plasticky looking thing that has like Christmas lights on it or something like that. But when he goes through, they play like a metal detector noise or something like that. Like they're selling on the fact that like there were no guns at the party, and like this is why. This like little detail where they framed the scene, and it's like one big shot where he goes and then walks back to like Leo, and it like beeps and he just grabs him, and then it beeps and he goes back in and all that stuff. I was like, this is amazing. So there's so many things like that in the movie.
No, there's definitely the attention to detail is one thing that's not lost in this movie. It has attention to detail, and has great actors and a good amount of money going into this plot, going into this production. But something about just the miscast for me on that main character
thing,
just it really dragged the points down, and I'd give this I'd say like it's like a 6 for me.
Sure.
And it's still a thumbs up. I recommend watching it, but I can't say that it gets a super high praise, because there's a lot of movies that hit it on every function, and that's more my 8, 9, 10s.
Yeah. I like this because it was so unique, it was so different and all that stuff. I give a lot of extra points for
that. As far as a telling of Romeo and Juliet goes, this is probably my preferred one.
Yeah, I felt like transported in a way that I don't usually. And honestly, like, so we're like 20 minutes into the movie. I was thinking about like, what am I going to say about this later? And it's like, well, I'm going to say, I still have no idea what they're saying, but I sort of understand what's going on, I guess, and it looks cool. But then as the movie went on, I got really into it, and I started to pick up on stuff that I'd like learned but then forgotten about the Shakespearean dialogue and how this stuff works, and I was just like, oh, this is great. This is wonderful. Everything about this is wonderful.
I would like to see them write a new movie and make the whole thing like about the first 20 minutes, like in that vein. Because I thought that the first 20 minutes of the movie is so strong, like so strong.
Yeah, and I feel like that's more indicative of. I keep thinking Guy Ritchie, but there's somebody else who's more famous for it. Like overcranked was the old term, right? It's like sped up and slowed down and weird and like tight camera angles and it feels fake but real. It's that weird style. Yeah, I'm like a huge fan of that, and that's definitely most heavily used. In the beginning, and it kind of settles down in a way that's not as like that. It's more traditional later on.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch,
and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.